Hi, I'm Abolore. In today's lesson, we are going to learn two economic terminologies, subsidy and bailout. Now, the big question is, are these two words the same? The answer is capital no. They are similar but not what? The same. So in today's lesson, I'll be doing a brush up on these two words. So what are you waiting up for? Come with me and I'll take your head out of the clouds. So let's start off with vocabulary. Economy. Economy simply means what? A country. So when you talk of economy, you are talking of the economic activities within a country. That's production, distribution, consumption, and exchange. So you can talk of Nigerian economy, Japan's economy, Canada's economy, South Africa's economy, and so on and so forth. So another word for economy is a country, but basically we are relating it to the economic activities within what? A country, and those are basically production, consumption, distribution, and what? Exchange. So second, we have sector. Another word for sector is industry. Now, sector means a group of firms that produce similar what? Commodities or services. So examples of sectors, we have education sector, we have banking sector, we have agricultural sector, we have manufacturing, and the list is endless. Now, a sector is made up of what? Firms that produces similar commodities. So a unit of an industry or a unit of a sector is called what? Firms. Let me break it down. Let's take banking sector for example. Banking sector comprises of many banks. That's the commercial banks. In Nigeria, we have about 25 or thereabouts. So one of the banks, let's say Zenith Bank for example, is a firm in that what? Banking what? Industry or sector. So one unit of an industry is what? Is a firm. So a good example is Zenith Bank. The banking sector is just one of the firms. So all the firms put together makes up what? The banking what? Sector. So another word for a sector is an industry. Deregulation. Deregulation means to free what? A sector or to free an industry. So what does it mean to deregulate a sector? Deregulating a sector means the government breaks the monopoly. The government wants to allow competition in that what? Sector. And when the government wants to allow competition in a particular sector, it means the government gives license to potential what? Firms that want to come into that what? Sector. Now, let me take you back to 2000 in Nigeria. That's the telecommunication sector. We had Economies as the monopolist. That's the one seller in that telecommunication sector. We had Economies. So the government of Nigeria broke the monopoly by allowing other firms to compete, like MTN, Glo, Multilinks, Etisalat, and so on and so forth to Canada. That means the government gave them the license to what? To come into that telecom sector and compete with what? With Economies. So when government deregulates a sector, it means the government breaks the monopoly. And when government breaks the monopoly in a particular sector, it means they want the market to be competitive. They don't just want one seller. That's a monopolist. They don't just want it. They want many firms in that sector. So that's what it means to deregulate. And we have what? Recession. Recession means a continuous fall in the productivity level of a country for 2 quarters. So recession simply means when there is a continuous fall in the productivity level of what? Of a country. That means virtually all the sectors of the economy is what? Affected. That means their outputs, what they produce, decreases, falls for a continuous period of what? 6 months, which is 2 quarters. So In a period of recession is not usually good for a country. Let me take you back to 2019, 2020, when the global economy experienced recession due to coronavirus pandemic. That period, that period of recession is kind of so bad. It's take a heavy toll on individual firm as well as governments, in the sense that during that recession demand was very low, and due to the low in demand, the firm had to cut down, or some industry they had to cut down their production. And for firms to cut down production, it means they have to lay off some of their staff. And laying off staff means some people will have to out of jobs. And when people are out of jobs, that means there will be loss of incomes. So that's basically recession. And in a period of recession, most symptoms you will actually see high unemployment rates, high inflation rates, low productivity level, low demand, and other negative factors that are peculiar to a period of recession. So that's basically recession. So those are the terminologies. So let's talk about subsidy. So subsidy means a monetary benefit given by the government to producers of essential commodities in order to keep prices at low. Now, subsidy means what? A monetary benefit. Subsidy is a tit for tat. Tit for tat means you rub my back, I rub your back too. So this is how subsidy works. The government of a country will approach firms or industry that produces essential commodities like rice, like millet, like beans, water, and so on and so forth. The government will put it to the firm. How can we make production? How can we make your production easy for you? And the firm would say, oh, you can provide us this, you can provide us seeds, you can provide us acres of land, you can provide us equipment, and so on and so forth. So the government will say, we will do everything. And that means when you eventually produce this that you are producing, you must then sell to the consumers at a very low price. So that's how subsidy works. And the form in which subsidies could be in form of interest-free loans, tax relief. That means the government will say, oh, as a firm, don't pay tax, or tax holiday. And a lot of forms that subsidy could take. So it could be a monetary benefit whereby government gives cash to firms or industry so that that can ease the production process for of that firm or that industry. So basically there are some industries that the government should subsidize. They are very important. They are indispensable. So you have them: education, agriculture, health. You can talk of defense, national defense, petroleum. I'll come back to this petroleum sector after. So we have a positive effect of subsidy. Lower prices of of goods and services. The primary motive why government gives subsidy is for the firm or industry to sell their produce, that means their output, to the consumers at a very low price. Because subsidy is given by the government to producers of essential commodities at the interest of the consumer, not the interest of the government, but the consumer. So when subsidy is given to firms, they will They will sell prices at a very low price. So one of the advantages of one of the positive effects why government gives subsidies is to ensure that consumers are able to buy the products at a very low what? Price. And number two, we have increase in production and consumption. Increase in production and consumption, what that means is when government gives subsidy to what? To firms, that means it helps them to be able to what? Produce what? More. That means their production will increase. Because if, for example, cost of production is $20 and the firm only has what? Let's say $15. The government will come in by giving them $5 or more than that, just for them to be, just for the firm to be able to meet the what? The cost of what? Production. So when government gives subsidy to firms, it enables the firm to be able to what? To produce what? More. And when the firm produces more, then they will sell that product or that output or that produce at a very low what? Price. And when goods are sold at a very low price, what that means is that the consumer will be able to what? To afford it. That means when price is low, it will increase the purchasing power with the what? With the consumers. That means they will be able to buy more quantity of that goods or services. And number three, job protection. Let's talk about the big name, United States of America. In 2008 and 2009, General Motors, they are one of the biggest automakers in the United States. They go directly to the federal government of the United States and ask them for subsidies, because the executives of General Motors at that time, because there were financial crises at that time, and the executives of General Motors weren't sure if the business will remain, or if the firm will remain in business for that period. So they went directly to the federal government of the United States for subsidies. And the federal government of the United States responded to their to their request. That means they get them subsidy. And as a result, jobs were were protected. Protected in the sense that if the federal government of the United States had not responded, had not answered by giving the General Motors subsidy, what would have happened is General Motors would have been out of business. And when they're out of business, it means millions of people will be affected. They will be rendered unemployed. So giving of subsidy helps to protect jobs. And the negative effect of subsidy is that higher taxes. Higher taxes means that where does the government get money to pay subsidy? It's from the taxpayers' money. So if as a citizen you support the fact that government should continue to subsidize firms or industry, then you must be willing and ready to pay To pay more tax, because it is from the taxpayers' money that the government gets to pay subsidies to firm or industry. So that's basically the negative effect. Higher taxes. More taxes will be paid. That means the government will tax you more in order for them to be able to pay subsidies to firm. So that's with respect to subsidy. So now let me quickly run through the petroleum sector in Nigeria. Just a quick view, my view on that. Now, petroleum subsidy. The removal of petroleum subsidy in Nigeria has short run and long run effects. The short run means when the subsidy is removed, when the petroleum subsidy is removed, what will happen now? And long run effect means when the subsidy is removed now, what will be the effect of that in the long run, maybe in 5 years' time, in 6 years' time, or in 7 years' time. Now, short run effects. When the petroleum subsidy is removed now, automatically that will inflict sufferings on the average what? Nigerians. That means the prices of goods and services will what? Will increase. And when prices of goods and services increases, what happens? The purchasing power with the consumer will what? Will reduce. So that will inflict, sufferings on what? On average what? Nigerians. But the long run effects now, if subsidy is removed now, because let's face the fact, Nigerian government is broke. So they need money to put in place, infrastructure, to put in place healthcare, to put in place more modern schools and all that. So when subsidy is removed now, what will be the effect of, that in the long run, as in 5 years' time? That subsidy, that money that is being removed, if the money is being used to build more roads, to build more modern schools, and most importantly, to rehabilitate those refineries, Nigerian refineries are not working up to capacity. So if the subsidy that is being removed from petroleum subsidy could be used to rehabilitate those refineries, like Port Harcourt refineries and other refineries, then what that means is that if those refineries have been repaired and rehabilitated, then the supply of then Nigeria will no longer, as a country, will no longer take their crude oil to other countries to refine. Then the crude oil will have to be refined within Nigeria. And what that means is when that happens, when refining of the crude oil is done in Nigeria and within Nigeria, it will increase the supply, it will increase the produce of what? Of petrol. And when that increases, you have surplus. And when there is surplus, definitely the price of what? Of petrol will what? Reduce. And the multiplier effect of crude oil being, refined in Nigeria is enormous. It will create jobs for Nigerians, and it will increase the productivity level of Nigeria as well as an economy. So, for my money, in my own opinion, I would say, I would say with all honesty that removal of subsidy is the right way to go. The government of Nigeria is broke. Let's face the fact, Nigerian government needs money. So presently, Nigerian government is subsidizing per liter of fuel at 42 naira. But what the strategy that the government of Nigeria is doing, that they are taking now is they are removing the subsidy, small. They don't want to remove it. They don't want to remove the whole subsidy at once. That's the petroleum subsidy. They don't want to remove it at once, because when they do that at once, or when they remove it at once, what happens is the sufferings will be too much on the average world, Nigeria. So each time you hear that fuel per liter has gone up, it means they've removed from that 42 naira a bit. So they are removing it, small, but eventually they will remove everything. And those money that they are removing, they are divesting it into other sectors that need what? Urgent what? Attention, like rehabilitation of refineries and so on and so forth. So that's just my take on petrol subsidy. Fuel subsidy has to be what, or needs to be what? Removed. It's the right way to go, whether you like it or not. Because some Nigerians are of the opinion that the government keeps subsidizing the rich at the expense of the poor. But also, it's not that Nigerians do not or would not agree with Nigerian government in removing the subsidy. It's just that Nigerians do not have trust in the government, because Nigerian governments, most times, they flip-flop. They constantly change their mind on, decisions that they've made. They say they want to do this, they do the other. So I think the problem we're having is that Nigerians do not have trust in their government. Let's just put it that way. So that's with respect to petroleum subsidy. So let's talk about bailouts. So bailout is a loan given by government to firm or industry to prevent it from what? Imminent what? Collapse. So bailout is a loan given by governments to what? To industries. So when a firm is on the ropes, that means when a firm or an industry is running on empty, that means in a case of recession or in a case of emergency, when a firm is almost dying, the firm is on the verge of, collapsing, then the government will, resuscitates the firm by bailing it what? Out with a loan. So let's take the banking sector for example. During the period of recession, banks are always on the run. What do I mean by on the run? Depositors, ordinary depositors will always, approach the bank for withdrawal of their deposits. So every ordinary depositors as well as creditors will approach the bank and say, "Oh, give me my money, give me my money." So the banks, most times or at that period of recession, will not have enough liquidity. In fact, those ordinary depositors and creditors will almost withdraw their, the cash, the liquidity that the banks have. So the apex bank, which is the central bank in the United States, is called Federal Reserve, will come to what? To bail the banks out by giving them what? Bailouts. So bailout is usually in a period of what? When a firm is what? Is almost dying. It's not dead yet, it's dying. That means it is on the verge of collapsing. So the bank, the government will come in and help them out. So are there differences between these two words? Absolutely yes. One of the differences is that bailout is given in a period of what? Recession, emergency period. Why subsidy is given, it's an annual thing. In serious government, we have a particular sector like education, health care sector it's more subsidized every year. So this is usually given in a period of emergency. Why this is given in annually. That's one of the difference. Number two is bailout is usually repaid. It's a loan that is given by governments to firms or industry for them not to die. That is, if a firm is too big to fail, there are some firms or industry that when they fail, the economy also fails. So governments won't want that to happen. So they will bail them out by giving them bailout. So that loan is usually repaid back. So bailout is repaid back, while subsidy won't be paid back. But the firms that is being given subsidy will be paid the government back by selling the goods to the consumer at a very low price. And also, bailout is visible. Visible in the sense that the government will come out and tell the public, like Joe Biden did last month ago. He proposed a sum of $1.9 trillion to help rescue U.S. economy from recession that's affected the global economies. That's due to pandemic and all that. So this is usually visible. The government will come out and say, "Oh, this is how much we want to spend." And subsidy is not usually visible. It's not something you can actually calculate, but bailouts, you can calculate that. And that's just the differences. So similarities, are they similar? Do they have something in common, these two words? Yes. The two is paid by by the government of a country to firm or industry. The two is paid by the government to firms or industry, or to firms or industry. And number two is This is usually in form of cash. Loan is in form of cash, and subsidy too could be in form of cash. You can see here, I said monetary benefits, so it could also be in form of cash. So that's basically the similarities between these two words, bailout and subsidy. So I have a brain teaser here. Your brain loves practice. I only want to test you if truly you understand my teachings so far. So brain teaser, you put your answer in the comments below. I want to see you do this. So I have two questions here. The first one, a monetary benefit given to producers of necessities to keep price at low is. A monetary benefit given to producers of necessities to keep prices at low is. Number two, give one difference between subsidy and bailout. Give one difference between what? Subsidy and bailout. Now, lest I forget, this lesson is for Mr. Musa. He actually suggested to us that we should help him with subsidy and what? And bailout. So I think after watching this video, I should have been able to clear your doubts on these two economic terminologies. So lastly, I have bonus for you, because some of you watching will be like, as an individual in the period of recession, what do I get? What does the government, give me as an individual or as an household? So palliatives is what the government gives the private individuals in a period of what? Recession. And palliatives are basically necessities like chicken feed, unemployment benefits. But most times they call it transfer payment. Transfer payment, like money you don't work for, but you earn it or you receive it. Money you don't earn, but you receive it. That's transfer payment. You don't work for it, but you what? You receive it, like gifts, scholarship, unemployment benefits, and so on and so forth. But basically, it's usually in form of food. Nigerian government shared palliative during these coronavirus pandemic, just like every other country shared to their citizens palliative. So that's basically the lesson for today. So before I drop off this conversation, I want to round off this lesson with this Chinese quote. And it reads, "Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn." So at this point, subscribe to my YouTube page and also like my page. And do not forget to share my videos to friends and relatives whom this video might help, and at the same time serves their urgent needs. So at this point, I say thank you all for having stuck with me this far. Kudos to you guys, and I'll see you on my next video. Thank you for listening. Do have a good one. Bye bye.